37s really aren't the smart choice when it comes to the 3rd gen Tundra. So here are the 37s that I bought. 35s just work so much better. With a little bit of lift and a tiny modification to the fender liner, they fit with no rubbing at all. They also fit in the spare tire location. It's the biggest size tire you will fit in that location. Unfortunately, I ruined my AT3s because I got knocked out of alignment and drove across country before I realized it. So they're very, very smooth on the inside, and I figured, why not upgrade? Went with 37s, and I went with the Toyo RT Trails. Now I've got a bunch of work to do to make these fit, so I'm back at Commonwealth 4x4 in Winchester, Kentucky to make it happen. The whole process is made easier with 2 things. One of them is that this is already lifted with the Adventure Motors lift. The other is that we have the high clearance CBI bumper in the front, which just gives us a little bit extra clearance. Now's probably a good time to tell you that this bumper, the winch, probably the lights, and the Factor 55 Ultra Hook should all be available on revereoverland.com coming very soon. So if you're in the market for any of this stuff, or even other overlanding gear, camping gear that you see me using on my channel, go check out my website. The only things we have to modify are back here. We have loosened the inner liner here so it's easier to get to it. There's a little crash box here that has to come off, and body mount has to be chopped.
We're out here in the gateway to Eastern Kentucky, and we're gonna go to cutting on this new truck right here. Make her fit some bigger tires. Tars. Most body mounts are gonna be a single plate or frame, if you will, of metal that's gonna comprise what makes up the body mount. And in this case, for whatever design purpose, Toyota has the body mount, and then they have a separate kind of horn that comes off the front of the body mount on the Tundra. And that's what ends up making contact when you go to run bigger tires.
Now we're going to take the plasma cutter and cut it off. I should be able to clean it up and get it a little bit closer now.
Plasma cutter made really quick work of that, and then we ran a grinder around the outside, and just to finish it up, give it a smooth finish, we are running a weld around the outside. And by we, I mean Wes.
You all know it's going to be me.
I'm videoing. I'm doing the important work here. So now that it's looking clean, the next step is to use a rust encapsulator just to cover it up, make sure that weld doesn't rust. And then later I'm going to have these guys do a wool wax coating on the whole underside of the truck, including this area. Last video, this was sitting in the background and got a lot of attention. It is beautiful and in great shape. I'm trying to convince Clay to bring this out to Moab in the spring and let me video it. For the wheels, I'm going to be sticking with my Method 705s. They are pretty scratched, some of them worse than others, but I still think they look good. I love the black and I love the design. It's pretty unique. But the best thing about these is these are the bead grip wheels, so it allows me to air down pretty low and have some confidence in them that bob and the extra safety hump is going to hold the tire on at those low pressures. It's been particularly useful in some snow I was in last summer, allowed me to air down to about 8 PSI and didn't have any issues. As always, you can get a discount on these, so if you want to get your own, you can get 20% off at methodracewheels.com/Revere Overland.
So hard to get the bead off. Get it? Nope.
The bead's still on there?
Yep. Finally off.
That just shows how good the bead grip is on there.
Oh, it's amazing. So the bead's already off right here, but it's still just as hard to get the bead off all the way around.
But you still didn't get it, did it?
Nope.
So last night, after mounting and balancing, we got the tires, the wheels and tires on the truck. Looks fantastic. It looks like 37s are just made to fit the Tundra, but there were a couple of issues. Driving it home last night, when I hit a big bump on the road, did bottom out a little bit in the front, and going full lock, it does rub as well. And those are things we figured probably would happen. We have two things that we're going to do today to sort that out. First is an alignment. I've got to make some adjustments there. Second, we're actually going to do right now, and that's lift the front a little more. We're going to adjust the preload because it is still a little low in the front. You can probably see there's a lot of rake back there. That is why we've loaded up about 300 pounds worth of tires in the back. Then a couple of us climbed up there just to measure from front to back, and we're basically going to try and level it. We just got done adjusting the preload, and it looks so much better now. It looks basically like it should, and it has given us space for the 37s. I can now drive it on the road and go full lock without rubbing, so that is good. It does still have a little bit of rake, which I need because I'm adding probably about 600 pounds to the back between the AT habitat, the rear bumper, and basically loading it down for trips. Alright, we are back out at Commonwealth 4x4. The truck is aligned. It's time to take it up on some logs and see what rubs and see what doesn't.
Good line. It's gonna put you in the middle. Left and right front. Is that full lock? Full lock. Alright, we're not in the sway bar then. No, everything's clear. So upper control arm's fine. Front's good. They're straight. Just ease you down. You got about a foot, you're gonna start to come down, drop off now.
So the good news is that it doesn't rub in the front at all, although there is a trade-off with that. It didn't rub in the back either until, as Wes was pulling up, the rear sway bar link broke again.
Straighten up.
The sway bar link that I replaced like 2 days ago. So we're gonna have to figure something out there. Now you might hear the sound of a V8 starting up in the background with a hole in the exhaust or some missing stuff on the exhaust. That's because Wes is about to come along with his Lexus and show us what some flex really should look like. Now that is some serious flex, and there's still some more in it. We just ran out of log. So what took more effort, putting 37s on the Tundra or getting that much flex on your Land Cruiser?
Yeah, the Land Cruiser was definitely harder. A lot harder.
That thing sat on a lift for what, like 10 months?
Yeah, it was about 10 to 12 months. But granted, a lot of that I wasn't working on it, you know.
If you were to do it again, what do you think it'd take?
Knowing what I know now, I could probably do it in a month or two if it was my job, 8 hours a day, probably a month. If I was doing it for myself personally, probably 3 months, because I don't have to do a lot of the research. A lot of the design's already done. Yeah.
So there you go, Commonwealth 4x4, now doing solid axle swaps.
No, we're not.
So obviously the front's independent. It didn't have a lot of flex to start with, and we've lost even more after crank down on the preload there. The back is also going to lose some because I think we're going to have to extend the bump stops a little bit to stop me from breaking sway bar links. But I think that was something I was going to have to do anyway because I already broke that sway bar link once and I was on 35s when that happened. It's just I need to reduce the flex a little bit back there anyway to stop that from happening. So now it's time to solve the sway bar link issue, and we have an easy way to extend the bump stops now. I've got these. These are from the Toyota, the TRD lift kit that you can get from Toyota for these Tundras, and it is an extended bump stop. And I got this one thanks to Andy from Enjoy the Ride Dude. You may have seen him on Instagram or on YouTube if you've been following the Tundras for a while. He was probably the first person, or one of the first people, to get a Tundra, and almost certainly one of the first people to take it off-road, and probably the first person to break it off-road as well. But he's an awesome guy. He mailed me these after he found out that I just had the factory bump stops on here. So I'm going to put these on, and hopefully that solves the issue. The test did not go well. Let me show you. The sway bar link gave up again. We drove it up onto the log. I wasn't filming this time. And the sway bar itself basically popped up above the bracket. And when it went around, it bent the link. It shouldn't be able to do that, or it's just a really weak link. So what we're going to do is leave this one on for now, and I have one on the way from Baja Kits that should be much, much stronger than this one. If that doesn't work, then we'll just take the sway bar out. I should probably add, the extended bump stop does work, so even after the sway bar gave up, the bump stop was holding it so that the tire wasn't quite rubbing the top, so that is worth having. Now we're going to do a wool wax undercoat. Alright, so I gotta know, why do you have underwear on your head?
This is a protective sock. I don't want these nice brown curls turning black because of the wool wax, so I like to protect the noggin.
What is wool wax?
Wool wax is a lanolin-based rust preventative and undercoating, but it actually is non-hazardous, non-toxic, safe environmentally, and it also is a great rust inhibitor and protectant for anything metal.
Obviously, since this is a Toyota, protecting the frame from rust is really important, especially since tomorrow I leave for Oregon and there's a lot of snow along the way. One of the things about this stuff is it doesn't have any solvents, so it doesn't cure. It kind of just stays this sticky, goopy texture, which is great because it means when you're driving, it doesn't get washed off, it doesn't crack, it doesn't flake, it just kind of stays and protects. The downside is if you want to get your truck worked on, you do it before you put the stuff on, because you don't want to be turning bolts and pulling parts off, putting a lift on, and dealing with that sticky mess.
A few days later, I was at CBI to get my truck worked on. Sorry, Justin.
The first step is to remove all of the plastic trim on here. This just goes straight in the trash because we're not reusing any of it. The only parts we reuse are going to be right along the top of the old bumper there, because you're going to cut it to fit the new one in. We're also lifting it up so that we can get to the sensors. We're going to pull those out because the new bumper retains the factory sensors, the parking sensors. And I know the hardest part of designing this bumper was these little things. These are the blind spot monitors, and obviously they wanted to retain these. So the new bumper does use these, but we've got to take them off to fit them in the new bumper. And here is the finished thing. Well, almost. I've still got to add the swing outs to the rear bumper. Thankfully, it's kind of modular, so you can add the bumper and then you can just take these bolts out here and add the swing outs later. CBI haven't quite finished developing those at the time of filming this, but once it's finished, I'll have those ordered and I'll put those on. That way I can put the spare tire on the back here and can get it out of the bed. I did also add the Heretic lights here. I've gone with the BA2s flush mounted in true amber, which really helps for chase lights. So I'm about to go out with someone else, and when they're following me in dusty conditions, that really helps them see. I would recommend adding those before you put the bumper on, because it's a little bit difficult getting to the back of these while the bumper is mounted. You might also notice there's something else on here, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Final thoughts on these tires. The Toyo RT Trails are fantastic. They keep exceeding my expectations at basically everything. They clear really well, they're really grippy in the mud, and they're actually surprisingly quiet on the highway. Now, I'm not saying they are quiet, but they're definitely a lot quieter than a mud terrain, and they're not too different from the all-terrains that I had on here before. In fact, I'd say the volume is about the same, but it's a little bit higher pitched, so it's a little bit more noticeable, but I still think these are great tires and actually really recommend them. The only thing I wish was different is that you could get these in a D-rated tire, because the E-rated ones are kind of heavy. That being said, switching to 37s has not changed my gas mileage too much. I've taken on several long distance trips, doing highway between 75 and 80. I'm getting around 13 miles per gallon, just over 13 miles per gallon. City and mixed highway driving, it's just around 14, little over 14 miles per gallon. And then actually the place that this performs best is around 55 to 60 miles an hour. So I recently did a trip between Boise, Idaho and Oregon, or Bend, Oregon, and got just over 16 miles per gallon, which is not too different from the 35s that I had on here. In fact, I'd say I probably only lost about half a mile per gallon. I still don't think 37s are the smart choice, but they're not as bad as I thought. The work required to get them to fit wasn't quite as much as I was expecting, but they are now rubbing a little bit in the front. I got another alignment done after we tested it out, and I think they changed the specs a little bit, and I have lost a little bit of flex in the front. I didn't have much to begin with, but I've lost even more. But you can't deny that it looks fantastic. And that's what really counts. If you want to get any of this stuff, we now have the bumper on the website. I know I said earlier it's coming soon, but it's ready. Lights are on the website, winches on the website, bunch of other stuff coming soon. So it's all on revereoverland.com, or it will be on revereoverland.com. So make sure you check that out, and thanks for watching.